Welcome to the deep dive. Today we have a really a fascinating mission ahead of us. We're plunging into the philosophical, maybe even spiritual connections between two traditions often known for being quite private. We're looking at the Druze teachings, specifically their path of Todd and the symbolic world of Freemasonry.
Right. And importantly, we're not necessarily digging for direct historical links here. It's more about the echoes, the resonances in their ethical frameworks and what they see as the ultimate goal.
Exactly. And what jumps out from the source material really is how both systems focus less on fixed dogma and much more on personal transformation.
That's the core. They share this vision, you could say, where the journey of the initiate, the person on the path, is one of serious, systematic, moral discipline. And this discipline isn't just for its own sake. It leads towards a kind of metaphysical awakening and ultimately towards a mystical sense of unity with the divine.
So if you came here looking for contradictions, well, you might be a bit disappointed. Our sources really argue for convergence. The shared goal seems to be moving the seeker from just believing something to actually becoming something.
A builder, yes. A builder of character, someone who can channel light, an architect of harmony, really, between themselves and the wider cosmos.
And this shared ground is interesting because, as the source points out, it gestures towards what people sometimes call a perennial truth.
The idea that maybe different spiritual paths, despite their unique cultural expressions, are ultimately aiming for the same peak, using different maps maybe, but for the same mountain.
Okay, great framing. Let's maybe unpack this using a structure the source itself provides. It talks about the 12 teachings of the Druze path. It presents them as like rungs on a ladder of inner elevation. So let's use that ladder. How does Masonry fit in? Does it provide a kind of scaffolding for that climb?
That's a really good way to put it. It visualizes the process. It's always methodical, always about building carefully. And both systems right away emphasize integrity and trust. For the Druze, the very first teaching is truthfulness in speech and action. It's non-negotiable.
And the source really hammers this home. This truthfulness is described as the absolute cornerstone. You can't build anything lasting, especially not the temple of the self, if your foundation, your words and actions are, shaky or dishonest.
Exactly. And you see that mirrored in Masonry's emphasis on honesty, on square dealings. Your inner life has to match how you present yourself outwardly.
And this ethical standard, it seems, isn't just personal. It immediately extends to the community. This brings up communal solidarity.
Right. The Masonic Lodge, much like the traditional Druze Brotherhood, the Aqual, this closed, trusted group functions as a protective circle. It's where trust is tested, where members support each other, and where confidentiality is, well, paramount.
And that tight-knit community aspect feels crucial. The source suggests spiritual growth isn't really a solo activity, is it? It needs that trusted circle for accountability, for feedback.
It really does. It's an intensive practice, and that shared space is vital. Now, here's a point that needs perhaps a bit more careful explanation. The third teaching of the Druze path is the renunciation of other religious systems, which on the surface sounds quite exclusive.
Yeah, that does sound pretty stark, especially when you think about Freemasonry, which is known for welcoming members from various faiths as long as they believe in a supreme being. How do we square that? Doesn't that seem like a direct clash?
It does seem like a clash initially, but the key, according to the source, is looking at the inner intention. For the Druze, Todd, that absolute oneness of God demands an internal singularity of focus. It's about stopping the scattering of one's devotion across different external forms and focusing intensely, inwardly on that single divine principle. It's about purifying your inner focus.
Ah, okay. So it's less about telling other people their faith is wrong and more about achieving an undivided internal state, avoiding inner conflict or distraction.
Precisely that. It's an internal discipline. And the Masonic parallel, then, isn't about doctrine, but about the disciplined focus on that universal light beyond dogma. Masons are encouraged to look past the specific names or cultural forms, God, Allah, great architect, whatever the term, and concentrate on the underlying singular divine source of wisdom and moral law.
So both are demanding a prioritization of the universal principle over the particular temporary forms or doctrines.
Exactly. Moving along that ladder, we then find this shared sense of trust in, well, existence itself. Both traditions highlight the acceptance of divine decrees and submission to providence.
Letting go of the ego's need to control everything.
It's really the ultimate act of faith in the grand architect, to use the Masonic term. If you trust that the universe has an underlying order, a design, then you learn to accept the flow, even when things are difficult or confusing. It ties right back into that building metaphor.
Hmm.
You trust the master builder's plan, even if you're just working on one small part, one rough stone, and can't see the whole picture yet.
And then there's a concept that really elevates both traditions, I think. This idea that the work is never truly finished. It's eternal. Our sources link the Druze idea of the progress of the soul through reincarnation with the Masonic concept of eternal initiation.
And that's a profoundly important connection. It completely pushes back against any idea of a quick spiritual fix or arriving at some final static perfection. Both systems imply that the soul is constantly evolving, refining itself, whether that's across lifetimes in the Druze view or through the continuous journey of Masonic degrees. Even if you reach a level of mastery, there's always more work, a higher level of understanding to strive for.
The work itself is the point, almost. The pursuit of light is endless.
It is. You don't cross a finish line, you just get better tools for a more complex, ongoing project.
Okay, so that focus on perpetual growth brings us to the how, the method. Why all the mystery? Why the initiations? Why not just, publish a handbook?
Well, the mystery is the method, in a way, because both traditions seem to understand that truth or deep knowledge has to be earned to be truly valued and integrated. Handing it out freely often means it isn't grasped or it's misused. So, revelation comes gradually, through ritual, symbolism, and initiation as the seeker proves they're ready.
So secrecy isn't about hiding something shameful. It's more about protecting the transformative power of the experience for those actually prepared to handle it.
Exactly right. I think it was the Druze philosopher Hamza ibn Ali who said something like, and I'm paraphrasing here, revelation isn't a flood, it's like dew falling on a flower that opens when it's ready. The soul needs time, nurturing.
Patience and humility are required.
And labor. The Mason has to earn the wages of the craft. That means putting in the work to transform the self. The rough stone, the ashlar, doesn't smooth itself. The initiation is the work.
And the object of all this work is the person themselves, right? Both systems see the individual as kind of universal temple, a small reflection of the whole cosmos.
Yes, a microcosm aiming to align with the macrocosm, with divine intelligence. The Druze path really emphasizes training the soul, the intellect, to become this clear reflection of the universal intellect, making your inner state match the divine order.
While Masonry uses those very tangible architectural metaphors shaping the rough ashlar of the self into the perfect ashlar, making yourself a well-formed, precise stone ready for the bigger structure, the celestial lodge.
It's a very practical, applied spiritual architecture.
And like any architecture, it needs tools. Let's touch on those, because they seem more than just metaphors. They're like a moral toolkit.
Oh, absolutely actionable. The spiritual builder uses specific tools for the moral code. You build your character using truth as the plumb line, ensuring you're vertically aligned straight up and down with the divine standard.
Okay. And you level your actions with justice, making sure interactions are fair, balanced, equal. No tilting one way or the other due to prejudice.
And you square your dealings with integrity. That means your word is your bond, your practices are honorable, reliable from all angles, fit for inspection.
And crucially, you use the compass of self-restraint.
Yes, the compass draws boundaries. It teaches you to circumscribe your passions, keep desires within reasonable limits. It's a wonderfully elegant way to visualize ethical living.
So if the individual is the temple under construction, then the lodge or the ukwal is like the quarry and the workshop combined.
That's a great analogy, which brings us to the importance of brotherhood and the perennial vision.
Right. This community isn't just social. The source calls it a sanctuary of mutual aid, a spiritual bond that goes deeper than just friendship.
And the key is that it's an active space. It's the womb and the workshop, as the source puts it. It's where you're nurtured, but also where your rough edges get noticed and hopefully polished through interaction and mutual accountability. You can't really grow in isolation.
Makes sense. And stepping back again, looking at all these shared themes, unity, gradual learning, high ethics, the value of community, it does seem to point towards that broader idea of a perennial philosophy.
It really resonates with that concept, popularized by people like Aldous Huxley. The idea that underlying the diverse cultural garments of genuine spiritual paths, there are essential shared truths about humanity and the cosmos. You can see traces in both the Druze faith and Freemasonry of older esoteric streams, maybe Gnosticism, Neoplatonism, Islamic esotericism, even Pythagorean ideas about number and harmony.
So what we're seeing is harmony, perhaps, rather than syncretism. We're not trying to blend them into one thing, but recognizing they vibrate on a similar frequency. A shared metaphysics of unity, a common ethical approach, a mutual respect for symbol and silence.
I think that's a good way to phrase it. And this harmony, this resonance, offers something valuable today, doesn't it? A kind of corrective to our often polarized, materialistic world.
Oh, so.
Well, these teachings remind us that real power is inner mastery, self-control, not dominating others or accumulating stuff. They show that brotherhood means unity within diversity, respecting different approaches while seeking the same light, not demanding uniformity. And maybe most importantly, they teach that spiritual growth isn't instant gratification. It's the patient, dedicated work of ages.
So thinking about our listeners, what does this deep dive really mean for someone just trying to navigate their everyday life? How do you apply these big ideas from Todd and the great work practically?
It's about internalizing the mission, I think, translating the esoteric language into daily commitment.
The path of the builder starts inside.
Exactly. Maybe the call to action is this. Let your own life become your lodge or your place of devotion. Build it consciously. Let your everyday actions, how you treat people, how you work, how you manage your thoughts, let those be your degree work. Perform them with integrity, fairness, humility, and strive always to let your soul become that temple, the one described as eternal in the heavens, built without hands, built through aligning yourself with that greater divine plan.
So whether you call the paths to Koyed or the great work, the fundamental aim is the same.
You are a builder of light, and the world certainly needs more skilled architects right now.